enough talk. It's time to do a tarot. Okay. I've set my intention. I now need to cut my deck. I'm thinking about, I shuffled, setting my intention basically, as I said, this is just, we're just doing a therapeutic session about my life. So I've set my intention, meaning I've thought about my week. I've thought about the people in my life that I care about. Right now I'm thinking about my job and how I really want to try and make sure that I perform a little bit better and that hopefully I don't get fired. I really don't want to lose this job. Hello, Izu. So just thinking about all the different things about my week, right? And then I'm going to cut. And the only reason that I think that that's really important is because that way you have the things in mind moving into the reading to know what aspects of your life you really want to focus on. So the first card in a Celtic spread, let me see, I'm pretty sure this is the present moment. And I have drawn Judgment. So, and that actually makes a lot of sense because right now I feel like I'm in a position where I am trying to get a handle on where I am in life. I'm trying to make sure that everything is weighed and balanced. All of my decisions moving forward are careful and thought out, and that's a tricky one. So that makes sense for my present. Then I believe the next is the obstacle, right? What am I doing? Celtic spread. Yes, the challenge. The 9 of Cups. So we remember that the cups is our emotions. Let me see here. Let me just immediately go to my other... Here it is. My other reference. Oh, hello, by the way. I can hear myself in the other room. Let's see. Okay, so 9 of Cups. Okay. Cups. The 9 of Cups. Specifically. This card is a very powerful positive indicator. It represents a lasting and powerful contentment in your life. Okay. So we've reached this point where a lot of things... I kind of understand where this is. Okay, so the challenge is that I'm at a point in my life where my emotional fulfillment has reached a point of gathering. I have many things coming together emotionally.
Goth Queen K was added to the Pokédex.
Hey! Welcome in, Goth Queen. Thank you. So this 9 of Cups, I believe, represents the fact that I'm at this point in my life where all of my emotions have really culminated. I have a plethora and a bounty of awesome things going on, but that can present a challenge in and of itself because here I am at the crossroads of all these things that I've worked towards for so long in my life, and it's something to really perceive. So far, so good on that. Let's see. Making sure everything's going good. We're also doing Wasteland Wednesday over on Major's stream. Awesome. All right, the foundation. So this shows the root cause of the underlying influence. Justice. Jeez Louise. Okay, this is just a little crazy, to be honest. So the root of this issue, the foundation of the issue, is justice in general. It is the righting of wrongs. It is the karmic, kind of the what you might consider like the vindictive side of karma, which I don't usually like to use a lot of negative language, but for my own readings, I'm more than willing to like be honest with myself about what this means. So the justice side, it's interesting because the foundation is that all of my issues start from me doing things wrong to people in the past and then having to atone for that and trying to turn my life around and become a better person. So the fact that the foundation of my issue is justice is like pretty perfect. So these cards are pretty good, I gotta say. All right, the past. My influence from the past is the Hermit. It is sitting alone by myself for years, thinking about my situation and, just basically being alone, having all the people that I cared about kind of either away from me or just gone for whatever reason. And therein is my past. That is amazing, actually. So far, this reading is like crazy on brand. By the way, I don't really do reversals. I feel like there's enough to do with the cards by themselves that you don't need to do reversals. And, however, if someone feels like they need a very in-depth reading, I will do a reversal. I honestly think that maybe the first reversal was like a tarot reader just being like, realizing they didn't like the interpretation that they were giving and being like, wait, it was upside down. But I don't know. Anyway, so what are we on? Sorry, I have gone into a tangent. Card number 5, the goal. So this is aspirations. This is my goal right now for all of the things that I talked about for this reading this past week. Getting in touch with loved ones. I've been reestablishing a connection with my daughter, which is like huge. So there's all kinds of stuff going on, and the goal that all of that kind of leads to is the Queen of Swords. Now, if you remember our cheat sheet, the swords is our thoughts, our beliefs, our communication, our challenges, the way that we express ourselves to other humans. I need to put this on my home screen. What am I doing here? Queen of Swords represents a very perceptive individual, sharp-witted and professionally distant. You will most likely find her to be your aide and counsel, possibly a teacher, not necessarily female, but likely to be. The person should be trusted. Okay. So it would seem that the goal is that I have, and that this actually makes sense as well, is that I've always put off strong kind of matriarch energy. I identify as a two-spirit individual, so like queen, king, either way makes sense, but I've always kind of had more feminine energy than masculine energy, so it would make sense. That basically the goal for this, being near my loved ones and being able to reconnect with all these people in the past week, and the goal at work as well, because like I said, I'm thinking about my workplace, is to be someone who has my emotions and my communication, the way that I express myself to the world, at a point where I'm not necessarily the king. I'm not like 100% at the end of my life cycle with that being a wise old sage, but I want to be an adult who can express myself well and who other people look to for wisdom and guidance. So that makes a lot of sense there. Queen of Swords. By the way, I know this is upside down because I'm looking at, this is for me, so that's why this, anyway. Okay. Finally, we go to 6. The future. Ready? Here we go. The Two of Pentacles. So the Two of Pentacles once again representing your money, your possessions, your physical wealth. The 2 is a balance, and that is not necessarily great for me, but I'll just explain. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people would see this and immediately go, oh, goodness. Or maybe there's easy ways to interpret things as warnings or like negatively charged, but really none of this is supposed to have negative or positive energy unless you are giving it that energy, right? This is an exercise of the universe, and therefore the energy involved is human energy. So what this is telling me about my future is it involves financial balance. It involves a balancing act, because you can see the character in the Two of Pentacles is trying to balance these two coins. So, if I look up exactly what the meaning of the Two of Pentacles is, the Two of Pentacles is as always, bound up in forces of change and of balance. Like its brothers, the Two of Pentacles can be good or ill, but it is a strong indicator that the status quo will be disrupted. There will be challenges in your future, but your fate is largely in your own hands, in the sense that the final outcome depends on how you respond to these challenges. This card suggests that your best outcome is one that can be reached through prudence and careful planning. That makes sense, actually. So clearly, I have a lot of things to balance to make sure that everything goes well. I have to stay housed. I have to stay employed. I have lots of things that I need to do, and the future apparently has more of that balancing act for me. But I appreciate that there can always be an empowering message, and that this card says that if you plan well, and if you're careful about how you balance things, you can make this work. That's what this card is. This card is someone who has things in balance very well. Now let's move on to the 7th card. So we're getting into the column. So this is the Celtic cross. This is the beginning of the reading. The end of the reading is the column. And the column goes alongside. So card number 7, the basis of the column is your attitude. So this column represents me. So here is the situation at hand that we've just dealt with. Remember, I put my intention into the cards. I talked about what it is that I really want this reading to be about. That now is here in this deck, in this situation here. The next few cards that we're making the column are kind of going to represent me in the situation. So the situation at hand, me separate, but here as part of the situation. The foundation is my attitude. The Queen of Cups. All right. So the way that I am behaving currently, and this kind of makes sense, is as someone who is mature and I can be confident in my emotional stability. I'll show you these cards, by the way. These are really cute because they're 8-bit cards. I love the pixel art. So I'm not at the end of my stage where I am emotionally just a wise old sage, but I am, my attitude is that of someone who is emotionally mature, hopefully, and can be relied on to hopefully talk to about things that are important. I know I don't always have a lot to talk about from myself, but hopefully I have a lot of guidance to give. And so that makes sense that would be my attitude. So alongside or above my attitude is going to be the external influence on me, which is the 8 of Wands. So wands are creativity and passion and works. I usually, because I am an artist and a musician, I always think of wands as making music, making art, doing things with my body that help other people or help fulfill me that are not necessarily just for a paycheck, although they can be for a paycheck. But wands are your works. So let's read the exact purpose. Like I said, this is my external influence, and currently it is, 8 of Wands. It's been a long time, so I apologize that I keep using my references, but I want to make sure that I get these right. Prepare yourself for an abrupt increase in the pace of your life. Things are about to get very busy. The good news is that any projects you begin will progress quickly. You will experience few delays, and the conclusion is likely to be successful. This card is also good news for relationships, although it raises the possibility of needing to travel for relationships. All things considered, this is a good card to find in your spread, as long as you're willing to buckle down and get to work. So my outside influence, that makes sense, actually, because what this is telling me is that all of the things that are happening right now are kind of happening as a whirlwind. For a large, the last decade or so of my life, I've been doing what I just consider to be kind of sitting and waiting for the people around me to, I shouldn't say it that way, for time to pass so that I can kind of move into the role that I feel like I want to be in life. And so now we're at the point where that's happening, but it's happening fast and there's a lot to balance at once. So it makes sense among this spread that this is my external influence. My external influence is many, many works culminating at once, coming at me in rapid succession, if that makes sense. So, let's see. Card number 9. Hopes and fears. Ooh, this is interesting because I don't know that I don't think this is in the traditional tarot deck. I think this is a 8-bit special. So I'm not sure. Is that even in here? I don't think so. Let me see here. Let me look and see if I can figure out what is the Dreamland card in 8-bit tarot. I can't find the meaning of this card in anything. Yeah, exactly. Anyone know? Usually whenever decks add an extra card like this, it either means no meaning or it's got an explanation somewhere else. Interesting. So this is like I said, this is a specific card. This is actually not in the traditional tarot. And what is this for? This position. So we've done me, the challenge, the foundation, the past, my actions in the moment, I believe, the future, my attitude, outside influence. This position is, it's been so long, hopes and fears. My hopes and fears are the dreamland. Interesting. That's really cool, actually. I like this. So normally when I do a tarot spread, I know what every card means. I've looked at the art a million times and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one. I've read the meaning of this several times. I'll still read the references, obviously, because I want to be accurate. But, here we have a random card. I believe Hopes and Fears, the Dreamland, tells me that my hopes and fears involve kind of all of the fantasy that I've had my whole life. The idea that one day I could be a rock star or a millionaire filmmaker who lives in Malibu or, whatever. Those are my hopes and fears. And yet there's also the reason that it would be a fear is that because I'm worried that maybe it is just a dream. Maybe it's not real. But that's where it all starts. That's an interesting one. So we have reached the final card, which is usually reserved for the outcome, which is like kind of big. So this is where the culmination of the situation and the column that is me reaches its point. Oh, wow. So this card, oftentimes people see this card and immediately are like, oh God, it's so scary. This card is actually beautiful. So this card represents the change of a idea or way of thinking or way of life. It is the death of something that has been holding us back, always. This is always what death means. And there's almost never a time that I have ever seen a tarot deck predict a real live death. That's not a thing. So whenever you see the death card, what we're talking about is there is something that absolutely has to stop. In this case, I think it's very clear. I'll be dead honest with you guys. This culmination of things is telling me that I'm doing really well, getting all of my finances balanced. I'm doing pretty well coming from a point where I was very alone and very by myself and isolated to having some emotional maturity. And now I have to balance out my finances, balance out my works, make sure that everything that while I'm going into this with the state of mind of someone who is emotionally mature and all these things are flying at me and I'm worried about drifting off into dreamland, there are some immature things about my life that are going to have to go away. I think that personally, if I were to, like, if I'm honest with myself, if I'm just speaking my thoughts out loud, this card is representing some of my remaining addictions, and it's representing maybe some of the childish behavior that I've continued to exhibit throughout my life, because it's just very comforting, and it makes me feel I don't know. Maybe you got to be careful kind of how you interpret these things, because you don't know what it is that has to die. You just know that something's got to die. Some part of my experience needs to end. And that's what that card represents. So that's pretty good. I really like that spread. I will say it's like scary accurate, which is awesome. I always like it when a reading goes like that, because then I'm like, okay, this deck is hitting. You know what I mean? Like, this deck is doing right. So there's my tarot spread. What we will do now, we'll gather our cards, and we will prepare for the next reading. Who else wants a reading? Anybody? Anybody want a reading in chat? I think maybe for chatters, what I'll do is a 3-card reading for free. So, free 3-card readings. This deck is going to get worn out if I use it for streams, but that's going to be okay, because it was a relatively inexpensive deck. I got this deck, I think, from either TikTok Shop or Team, one of the cheapy companies.